Denver. How about a hand for existence, everyone, huh? It's amazing any of us are alive at all. It's statistically impossible that any of us are here. Earth started as molten lava. About 4.5 billion years ago, wasn't a great place to be on. And then it cooled down enough, started raining for about 100 million years, turned into an ocean, and still wasn't a great place for life. Had a lot of asteroids hitting it, didn't have an atmosphere at the time. But deep in the ocean, in cracks, these bubbles would serve as little bits of membrane for little building blocks of life to sometimes get trapped and then stay and combine into life, and they'd spring up. Once life on Earth stumbled on copying itself, that was a real special change. That's what led to us. Life started making copies. Some of those copies would have errors. Usually that was bad news. It'd be a dead end on an evolutionary tree. But sometimes there'd be a serendipitous error, and life would get a little bit better at surviving and replicating. And much like this joke, it was an excruciatingly slow process. It took about 2 billion years before life evolved the first mouth, even. Started eating other little bits of life around it. And then something really special happened. Life evolved the first anus. Changed everything. Once there was a front and a back, life had a direction forward. See, the most complex life before that, how it worked, is it absorbed energy through those membrane walls, and then it would diffuse waste through little slits in those membrane walls. Once there was a butthole, those slits got repurposed by some organisms and eventually turned into fish gills. And then the ocean started teeming with life. There was so much life, in fact, that some of the life would be fleeing from all of the other life trying to get it and would go to shallower and shallower waters in newly formed land. Some of it even took a chance on some of that newly formed land. Some of it even made it. And when that happened, those fish gills migrated back in the heads and became ears. And none of us would be hearing any of this right now if it weren't for the evolution of the butthole. I bring this up for a couple reasons. One is that if you ever decide to trip in a natural history museum, be prepared to make some strange connections that really stick with you and an incessant need to share them with anyone that will listen. Two, it's to highlight that all of this existence is a trip, and I think it's important to start this show in that way because we're going to be talking about some very wild experiences this evening, and I think that it's kind of grounding to sometimes take a bit of perspective and realize that as crazy as a given trip could be, there's no trip that could ever be crazier than the fact that none of us would exist if it weren't for a chance butthole mutation 2 billion years ago. And with that, let's get into the show, everybody. Colorado, you guys are amazing. You guys had the first recreational marijuana? Amazing. First to decriminalize mushrooms? So incredible. And of course you've gone downhill ever since, but still important progress. It's an exciting time if you're into psychedelics. We are in the middle of a psychedelic renaissance-ish. It's a little early to tell if you ask me, but it seems like it's moving in the right direction, at least. A big change since I was 16 years old and got into psychedelics. Now there's psychedelic research that's very popular and making headlines. Psychedelic therapy is making a big comeback, yeah. Yeah, guess who's been thinking about therapy for the first time? Who came up with that idea? That sounds like some idea my girlfriend puppet mastered to trick me into therapy. There's now psychedelic therapy at festivals. Now, like, it's your first time at a festival, some young kid, oh, I hear mushrooms are pretty cool. How much should I do? Oh, you say 5 grams is a heroic dose? Well, I've always considered myself to be a bit of a hero. And then you find out in a hurry that being half of a hero would have been plenty. And now some real heroes got to step in because of your acts of heroism. And you're confused and you're overwhelmed and in a sea of people. Like when I was a kid, you'd get the cops called on you, or even maybe a well-meaning person would call the ambulance on you, further exacerbating an already potentially traumatizing situation, and you just needed a friendly ear in a lot of cases. Now, a friend could take you to a little tent and you can get some water, some fan on you, and then you can sit on a couch and talk to a professional therapist about your stupid hollow earth theory or whatever idiotic idea that you heard on some dumb podcast years ago that you now think is your idea that you're coming up with in that moment. And a professional therapist has donated their time to do that. This is someone with $50,000 in student loan debt, and they will sit there and listen to you explain that you're the lizard king and everyone needs to obey you, without the heart to break it to you that you're the 8th lizard king to come in that day. When I was a teenager, if you did too many mushrooms or something, well, good luck. No one's helping you out of this situation but yourself. You just imploded into your own shattered ego. Oh, God, what is the point? What is the point? Best case scenario is maybe some part of you is able to pop out of your body to talk yourself through your own difficult experience. Hey, Shane. Can you hear me? Yeah, up here. Say, what do you think about getting out of that fetal position? You're kind of creeping everybody out right now. No? Comfy like that, huh? Oh, boy. Well, looks like we got ourselves stuck in another little existential funk here. Looks like you forgot to focus on the meaning rather than the void of it. It's gonna be a long evening. Listen, Shane buddy, life isn't pointless, it's point-free. You're free to choose your own destiny. You're never lost because there is no path. What do you think about that? Sounds like a bunch of bullshit to me, man. And you have that argument for a few hours till they kick you out of the fabric section at Walmart. Times have changed so much. I mean, 9-10 years ago, no one knew what ayahuasca was. Like, you really had to be in the know to know what ayahuasca was. Now they mention it on ESPN. It's like a whole cliche now. Oh, everyone knows. Oh, yeah, ayahuasca, sure. Oh, yeah, you mean the stuff where you fly to Peru or Brooklyn and yeah. And you sit with a shaman or someone who says they're a shaman. Man, shaman are really making a comeback these days, huh? Boy, they were on the endangered species list for a while there. 15 years ago, there's about 4 shaman left on Earth. Now you can't turn around without bumping into a damn shaman. Really proliferating. Shaman will give you a cup of tea. Tea? What? That doesn't set someone up for the experience, describing it as, want a spot of tea? This is not some chamomile with honey situation. I mean, even just the taste, it tastes like giving the jungle a rim job. we are moving from the realm of, having some mushrooms or LSD and trees getting a little wonky. This is now going into another space, like kind of having an out-of-body experience. In fact, this piece is from my friend Jonathan Salter. The piece is called I've Been Here, and he named it that because so many people would see this piece and go, I've been here. Hey, listen, this is not like a metaphor for what ayahuasca, trippy. This is a recollection. This is a real thing. It's powerful stuff. You're melding into the architecture of an alien landscape, some novel language that you're intuitively experiencing for the first time, going, I know it now. I need to quit my job to focus on pottery. Worst thing about ayahuasca, all the art supplies you gotta buy afterwards. I do feel like I'm kind of inside, halfway in, halfway out. Like I do have one foot in this realm in ayahuasca. Like if I close my eyes, I can clearly see this other realm, but say I need to go to the bathroom or something, I can't open my eyes, concentrate a bit. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but make my way to the bathroom. A lot of people just choose to puke and shit all over themselves and the person next to them, especially if they happen to be on either side of me in every ayahuasca circle ever. I find sometimes you can just get up, go to you can make it to the, I don't like to tell people how to live their lives. It's worth a try. I was like, maybe throwing up on me can be the backup plan. People will be like, I suppose you puke because it tastes bad, huh? Oh, no. Oh, no. I wish that's why you puked on ayahuasca. No, you puke because a lifetime of grudges has suddenly crystallized into a undeniable story of generational baggage while you surrender to a will that is not your own. And it turns out that can make one queasy. I have far more experience with DMT, dimethyltryptamine. That's the active ingredient in ayahuasca. And it was actually what I was introduced to first. The first time I did it was about 12 years ago. I was in Dallas, Texas, doing regular old stand-up comedy stuff before I started doing kind of big themed shows and whatnot. And this local comic that I just happened to be paired with at the time, his name was Seth, he came up to me after the first show, and he was like, hey man, have you ever done DMT before? I was like, no, never heard of it. He's like, oh, you'd like it. You're a trippy dude. And again, this is like 12 years ago. I was like, I don't know. I'm in my 30s now. I'm not really looking to add more drugs to the very long list of drugs. I have such a robust toolkit already. I'm getting older. If anything, I'm looking to subtract a few. Maybe hone in on some of the more beneficial of experiences. And he's like, well, you should watch some videos at least. And I did. It was compelling. There's some interesting speculation that perhaps because DMT is in a lot of living things and plants and such, and it's actually in your brain right now, granted in very trace amounts, but still, what's it doing there? And there's speculation that maybe it has some role in dreaming at night. Further speculation is that maybe it even gets released in high volumes right before you die, and that might explain why sometimes people are lucky enough, if they get revived from a cardiac arrest or coma or something, to, sometimes have these stories of seeing these weird alien worlds and different visions and talking with entities. Anyhow, you can smoke that shit. Take a little peek for yourself. I was like, well, I'm not going to go my whole life without trying that. That's just not who I am. And so this guy Seth took me to this guy Phil's house, who's like the DMT fairy of Dallas. He was just sprinkling around DMT everywhere. Not a dealer or anything. He was just trying to introduce as many people as possible to DMT. DMT is a very meaningful thing to him. So I was like, free drugs? This is suspicious. And the whole situation's weird, but I meet Phil. Phil's a cool guy. He's a computer programmer. His lady's a neuroscientist. I was like, all right, these are smart people. Hey, they have a nice house. I don't think they've ruined their lives with whatever this weird DMT stuff is that I'm just now learning about. I guess I'll give it a shot. And Phil's like, have you ever done mushrooms before? I was like, oh, yes, Phil. Tons of mushrooms. Love mushrooms. Can't get enough of them. He's like, okay, well, it's nothing like mushrooms. Well, what was that question for then, Phil? Just some weird census that you do for no reason whatsoever? He's like, well, it's good to know that you were in a non-ordinary state of consciousness before. All right, fair enough. So Phil's like, take this bong. You want to have 3 of the biggest hits you've ever taken in your entire life. And I was like, no problem, Phil. I used to own a 6-foot bong as a teenager. A badge of honor of my youth that has not aged well and generally makes me blush when sharing that little factoid with others. But come to find out, I have been training for this day for a very long time. He's like, well, I won't get too cocky. He's like, it is very intense. It comes on real quick. You'll have the first hit, probably gonna feel weird immediately. The second hit is usually way too intense for most people. Most people take 2 rips off of a DMT bong for the first time. They're gonna think something went real wrong. They're gonna think they missed something in the instructions. They think they did too much. They wanna stop. Whatever you do, don't stop. You have to keep going. You'll break through to this other space. You gotta get that 3rd hit. I was like, whatever with the buildup, Phil. So I grabbed that bong, took the first hit off that bong right away. I was like, oh damn, I'm turning into a cartoon. Am I just now turning into a cartoon? Or have I always been a cartoon? Well, guess I'll be a cartoon, smoking a bong. Took the second hit off that bong, and then the whole universe just started shaking violently and collapsing and reorganizing itself in weird ways. I was like, oh no. Oh, I've made a terrible decision this evening. Feels like I just did all of the drugs. All of them. All at the same time. And I'm overdosing on every single one. Well, guess I'm gonna die now. Phil saw the look on my face. He's like, one more. It's like, well, nothing to lose at this point. So I started filling up that bong. It was nice and milky white. I took a breath before clearing it. And when I did that, all of this, everything I've ever known, just goes, ba-dum, bum, ba-dum, bum, gone. And after a dramatic pause, there was just me and this bong in space. Not planets or stars or anything else, just a black, infinite void. Brought the bong with me. And the smoke inside the bong turned into electricity. That electricity turned into codes. I was like, this is gonna be weird. Then I smoked all those codes up. Only seemed right. And then I just shot through a tunnel of fractals and lights and insane colors I'd never seen. And then I just landed in a weird hologram computer chip city or something that looked super familiar for some reason. Like I'd been there hundreds of times before. And these lights were communicating with me in this way that I could understand perfectly, like a foreign language that somehow I knew instantly better than my own. It was like thoughts without words, more clearly than I've ever understood anything. It just goes, welcome! So happy to see you! And I was like, oh, shit. Well, I broke my brain. You really did it this time, Shane. You broke your fucking brain. Now what are you gonna do? You live here now. And I was like, calm down, focus, pay attention. It started building all of these structures. And so I was like, this is how I talk. This is very difficult to describe, by the way. Now do you understand? If you've never done DMT before, I imagine you assume that I'm probably putting a little comedic flair on this. Maybe embellishing in some way. I wouldn't fault you if you thought I was just making this whole story up. Wouldn't blame you at all. But you can ask anyone in this room who has done DMT. I am underselling the scenario. There are no words. There are no visuals that can possibly do it justice. This is just Michael and I giving it our best shot. Another hand for Michael Strauss in the back, huh? Feeling it? That's how he says thank you. So anyways, now do you understand? I was like, I guess so. And then it goes, now do you really want to see something? Like it was going to show me all of the meanings of life, every secret reveal. I was like, all right. It goes, look over here. And I looked over. And there was just this weird, out of place, cartoon cat just laughing at me. And I look back like, what? I was like, oh, I'm just messing with you. And that was it. That was the end of my first DMT trip. 100% back to normal, as clear-headed as I've ever been in my entire life, going, what the fuck was that? So I got very into DMT at that time. I do not like not knowing how something works, and DMT is the greatest mystery that I've ever come across. And, at the time that I got into it, it was referred to as the spirit molecule because of the stories of people interacting with these spirits and entities and stuff. I get it. It's what the subjective feeling of an experience is like. 9 out of 10 of you smoked enough DMT, you'd find yourself babbling to some weird entity. Most people believe in a God they've never seen. I don't know how it's somehow more crazy to believe in one that you spent 10 minutes in multiple infinities building some weird fractal bridge between your worlds. But I think it's your subconscious mind that you don't normally have access to. Imagine if you didn't know how computer programming worked, and then one day your screen just glitched, and you saw all of the coding that went into... oh my God, I've been jerking off to ones and zeros this whole time. It will look completely different, but it's not. It's the same kind of world, or it gives rise to that computer interface that you see. It just looks different. I guess the best way that I could describe it is if you've seen the movie Inside Out. It's one of my favorite films of all time. I think it sums up kind of how the subconscious brain works really well, which is this girl, the subject of the film is actually her inner world. It's really the premise is that we all have these different emotional states that are represented by characters. And so you have like joy and anger and sadness and fear and disgust. And they're all flavoring your memories in different ways at different times of your life. They're fighting over levers on a control panel to drive her exterior behavior. They're all aware that she's there. She's not aware that they're there. And I think that is actually a lot of how our subconscious mind does work, oddly enough. In fact, I hope they make an eventual sequel to those films called Outside In, where that little girl as an adult smokes DMT for the first time. Pops down into that world. Oh my God, it's like there's this joyful God and this angry God and this sad God and all these different worlds, and some of them were collapsing and rebuilding. It would sound just like every DMT Trip report I've ever heard of. But I'm also not overly attached to that idea. Again, it's like the mushrooms versus LSD rivalry is kind of the spiritual versus the more sciencey subconscious take on it. It's, still trying to articulate the same sort of thing. I've had things that have made me question. There's a purple woman that I've talked about a bunch that I've seen multiple times, and other people see her as well. And this is actually a work by Haken Hism. I found this and reached out to him because I had met this purple woman many times, and then I was doing some research for figuring out how any of this is possible and researching like different dimensions and how the universe has multiple dimensions and how some of them we don't perceive. And then Googling that, this popped up and I was like, what? That's the purple lady that I see. It's a weird situation. Whatever the hell's going on, it's strange for sure. I'm just not too overly attached to any belief about what is happening, because I think you run yourself into trouble when you get too sure of yourself with any belief in life, but especially with tripping ones. It's easy to do, especially when you're new or you have a new psychedelic that you haven't tried before. Just because it's legal right now and there's clinics, and I think kind of a safer bet for people is ketamine to start with, because you can professionally have administered a pretty significant experience. I recognize that sometimes people are like, I'm going to have a little bump, go out on the dance floor. Woo! Watch out for the K-hole. Are you serious? It's K-hole or bust. Grow up. K-hole is what a doctor gives you. Like, you go into a doctor's office and you're like, I'm very depressed. They're like, well, you need a K-hole. Ketamine's an interesting one in that it's more of a disassociative. Sometimes that's what I'm in the mood for. Like, after 28 years of psychedelic experiences, sometimes I'm just fucking sick of associating. I don't always want to be putting all the puzzle pieces together. I love mushrooms, but sometimes I'm scared to take them because I don't want another mission in life right now. I'm full up on missions. And ketamine's good. If you just want to have like a weird-ass experience and shake it up a little bit, ketamine's just interesting in that way that it can be so intense that you can even like forget that you're human, that level of intensity, and still it's a tranquilizer at the same time. That is a combination of emotional states that I enjoy. Intense and tranquil. Oh, so good. If I had to describe it, it's like if someone tranquilized you and threw you out of an airplane or something. Whoa. Flipping around toward Earth at a high rate of speed right now. I should be worried. Just taking in the view. Especially compared to other ones like DMT, those kinds of experiences can have more attachment because DMT has a real feeling of this is the most urgent, important information and experience there's ever been, and you need to remember all of it and act on it immediately. DMT will be like, here it is, Shane, the codes to unlimited energy, so you can fix humanity. Like, all right, fool me 10 times, DMT. Can we talk about this, actually? Yeah, you want to know what happened the last time you gave me the codes for unlimited energy? Guess what I did? I went and told people that I had the codes to unlimited energy to save humanity per your instructions. Yeah, guess who spent a couple months walking back some of those claims? Thank you very much. Along the way, did a bit of Googling. Turns out perpetual motion, not possible, according to the laws of physics as we know them. And DMT will be like, yes, but have you looked at math backwards? They're like, oh, that's it, DMT, you've done it. Now, will you remember? Of course, DMT. You've made it so simple to understand. How could someone forget this? 2 minutes later, I'm like, what was it again? Something about colors. Well, better smoke DMT again for humanity. Ketamine can have all that same intensity. Be like, oh my God, have I been in a simulation this whole time? Oh, has it just been this room that we've all been in? And there's actually nothing outside of this, and that everything else that we remember was just an implanted dream. And then afterwards, I go, whatever, ketamine, you old goofball. It just doesn't stick with you in that same way. I like that. Because it might seem like, you know, if you're a real explorer, oh, well, what if it is like real, those codes, they look really important. Like, what if you do pull some of those things? Maybe they would be kind of useful, right? But the thing with psychedelics generally, and especially DMT, is it's like, you know, sometimes people are like, oh, I saw the truth. Doubt it. You got a fresh perspective. That's wildly important. That's great. And you might now be left with a more accurate perception. But generally speaking, you don't want to abandon an entire life's worth of experience because of one 10-minute or few-hour experience that you had. And it's probably just kind of the novelty that made you attach to that. You know, I don't think any one of us are in any danger of learning some ultimate truth anytime soon. And with DMT, especially, there's like kind of a famous kind of trickstery sort of quality where DMT will be like,
okay, Shane. Let's try this. Here's the first song that brought vibrations into the universe. And if you just remember these notes, you can always find your way
DMT, is that serious? Was that important? Do I need to remember that? So, you know, things can get a little loopy. Ketamine is, I would say, there's just kind of less of a chance of like kind of getting obsessed over like, what the hell was that? Which I think is a good starting point. I interview scientists and stuff a bunch out about psychedelics. Just I really like learning about how the mind works and perception. Generally, I happen to be at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville, and at this university, they were showing me around. They were like, see those horses out there? Aspiring veterinarians learn to work with horses safely here. And you want to know something interesting? They didn't even know I was interested in psychedelics. They're like, you want to know one of the most dangerous parts as a veterinarian and for the horse too, working with horses, is that if you sedate a horse with ketamine, you got to be real careful. When they come out of it, they can be very unpredictable. I was like, oh yeah, I get it. Yeah. Listen, if you're a horse and you just forget you're a horse, and then you just become the universe for 45 minutes, and then you, the universe, get pushed into some impossibly small space, and then you think you're about to become John Malkovich, and then instead you just wake up a horse in a full-grown horse body? Yeah. Unpredictable. Unpredictable is a great description for that experience. And unpredictable is a good description for psychedelics generally. And it's good that there's more information out there. And as things are opening up, you kind of can have a better sense of what you're getting yourself into, which is a welcome change from how things have been for a long time. I remember probably 10 years ago or something, I had this dealer. They were amazing. Always the best stuff, great prices. They would test things, super high quality, always had fun things around. And I had never gotten mushrooms from them before. I went to their house and to get MDMA or something. They happened to have these chocolate mushroom bars there. This is 10 years ago. This was a real novel thing, spoiled Colorado people. I was very excited. I got 10 in my glove box, you know? I was very excited. I had never gotten mushrooms from him before. He had 2 left. I purchased both of them. They're $70 each. Weeks later, I went to do them. I wrote him. I was like, hey, how much of this should I have? And he's like, oh, for most people, about a half a bar. For you, probably a full bar. I was like, huh, $70 for one mushroom trip? That seems a little high. Yeah. Oh, well. Not going to let it ruin my experience. I just don't go to him for mushrooms anymore. I gobbled up that bar. Mushrooms usually take an hour to kick in, about 5 minutes into it. I was like, I think I misinterpreted something here. And I wrote him back. I was like, hey, how much did you say to have? And he was like, oh, you know, one of those little bars. One of those segments. Segments is such a better description. And I unwrapped the other bar and faintly pressed into this homemade nonsense. There were 16 bar-shaped segments. I ultimately had a fantastic time, if I'm being honest with you, but it was not without its challenges. There was a period of time I just thought I was just stuck in some horrific. I had lost my vision completely. Just nothing, just static, just no vision whatsoever. Horrifying. If I tried to close my eyes, that was even worse. That situation. Open my eyes, just nothing, blind forever. And you can have periods of that on psychedelics where you can feel like, uh-oh, what if I'm stuck here? Usually you surrender to it, it'll pass pretty quickly. This was going on for a convincing amount of time. It was real horrifying. But I was in this other space for so long that this world seemed really alien and foreign to me. And I kind of thought of this funny idea that's helped be a bit of a thought experiment. Now, anytime I kind of feel myself a little in over my head while tripping, which one, I just reminded myself how bizarre all of this reality is. I mean, look at any baby. Every baby is tripping their balls off. Every single one. I've seen a lot of tripping people. You can't show me a baby that is not tripping. I know how to identify tripping people. We are all born into this experience, tripping our balls off, and then we just acclimate to it so much so that you forget what a trip all of this existence is until you have this mind-altering perception, and then that can seem crazy just because any perception that you could ever have on any existence is just going to inherently be crazy and complex and overwhelming. And so my thought was, just imagine instead that they were so like they were born like they were on LSD or mushrooms all of the time. That's just normal life for them. As far as they know, everyone sees the world the same way that they do. And then one day as an adult, someone gives them a pill that brings them to our perception, this reality. I promise you, it seemed just as crazy and trippy and weird and interesting. Your most boring, mundane day would be the most fascinating thing to someone who's never experienced it. Oh my God, I get it now. It's like there's these things called jobs and entry-level positions even, where someone can get their foot in the door. It's like there's these crazy hierarchies within these jobs. They're kind of like not objectively real, but subjectively real and important at the same time. There's all these weird labels attached to different positions on them, and you get paid different monetary values at each one. It doesn't always seem fair, the distribution, but it seems like if you just kind of show up on time each day, sure, probably gonna have to kiss the last, step on a few toes. Probably not gonna be easy. I might be being a little naive here, you know. We're all set up a little differently in life and have different bits of luck, but maybe if you show up for this experience, you can buy yourself a chance at maybe elevating your status on these hierarchies, if that's the sort of thing you care about. Oh my God, it's like there's a potential boss inside each and every one of us. Holy shit. And then that pill wears off. And you have to go back to your dumb, boring LSD reality. Oh, here we go again with the squirmy ceiling. All right, mysterious purple lady. I'll be with you in a second. Me and Strange Cat have lots of screaming to catch up on. Point is, guys, life is a trip, and I hope you have a better one. Thank you so much for coming out, Denver. What a way to end the tour. One more hand for Michael Strauss, everybody. Let's get him up here. There he is, Michael Strauss.